Hi boys and girls. Okay, now that we've created our foil figure, I want you to start thinking about where the parts of the human body bend. So obviously our shoulder bends, then we have this bend right here at our elbow, our wrists bend. Your neck, be careful when you bend him there. Don't bend him too much that you rip off the head. There's a difference between bending and twisting. So bending is this. If you twist it, you could rip it off and then you won't have one. So think about where elbows, joints, where the wrists move, because you're going to be thinking of something that your person can be doing. So a person on the go, you want them to be doing more than just standing there, okay? So think about where your knees would be, right? Where your ankles are. Make sure your figure has feet. You don't want them to look like this. If you're going to do a ballerina, you might have one foot that's doing this if they're doing where they do it on the tip of their toes. But for almost everybody else, you want to have a foot so that your character can be standing up. Okay, so that's your job right now, is to decide what do I want my character doing and make sure that you can get them in that position. And all these little extra objects and things, those would be really hard to attach. So they're not going to have anything. So this one might not work. You could maybe get a piece of foil and attach it. I don't know how you'd attach the bat, honestly. If we use hot glue, it's too hot. It makes this foil get really hot. So we're probably not going to do that. And regular glue doesn't work. So let's just say you could have him like he was batting, right? You could have him position him where he's like holding a bat, but he's not going to, it's going to have to be like an imaginary bat, okay? So if you want to get him in that position, his hands would be together. And then I want you to think of, and maybe there's a stance, maybe the foot stance, you guys probably know this better than me if you're into baseball, how you would position your body. But you're going to do that, get him in the right position. Whatever that is, so let's say mine is a batter. I could title this The Batter. Or I could say Batter Up. That could be my title because he's getting ready to, that could just be the title. I could say Batting Man. That could be my name. Okay, whatever you want, you need to come up with a title that fits what your activity is that yours is doing, okay? And if I can come up with some way, I really don't know what we would do. I guess paper, you could maybe cut out. So I suppose if I really wanted him to have a bat, that might work, actually. I could take a piece of paper, maybe draw a bat, right? And cut that out. And probably that you could glue to him with regular glue. That might work. Okay, so anything you're going to attach to them, it's not going to be with foil, okay? Because the foil to foil doesn't glue. You have to have some hot glue for that, and we're not going to use hot glue. I've tried it with other classes. It's too hot. Alright, so you got this. You could glue that into his hands. There, I've got my batting man. Or I think I like Batter Up. Once you have that done, then we are going to create a shadow for our person. So next week when you come, I'm going to show you how to place this onto a black piece of paper and trace around it to make a shadow where the light would be casting a shadow on the base. We're going to use some hard paper for the base, cardstock, and we're going to glue our shadow onto the cardstock, and then we're going to glue him onto that. We will be using hot glue for that, just a little bit under each foot to hold him up, okay? But that is it, okay? So we will have a hot glue station next week. This week, your job, though, is to come up with a position and a title. And then, so that we can get ours back next week, Mrs. Walker will have some yarn. I want you to take a little piece of yarn because we have to label whose is whose, right? So take a piece of yarn, tie it around their waist, and attach your name to that piece of yarn. Okay, so I'm just going to tie it around. I'm not tying it too tight because I want to be able to get this off next week. I don't want him to be stuck with a knotted piece of yarn. So you could tie a bow if you wanted to. I'm not going to tie a bow. I'm just tying it one time around. And then on the tip here, you can either take a piece of paper and tape it on with your name. So I could take a piece of tape, or I could take the hole punchers, hole punch it, poke it through, and tie it on that way. Okay? Easy peasy. But this is your job before you leave today. You need to label yours because we're going to throw them into a bin together, and we aren't going to know whose is whose next week if you don't get your name on here. So all you have to do is attach that and write your name. Okay? You could write, if you've planned out your title, you could even write your title on the back side. I'm going to write Batter Up on mine. Okay? If the bat, maybe wait to make these things until next week because you don't really need it yet. And we got to try to keep track of it. So just decide what yours is going to be doing. Position him. And then he goes in the bin when you're done. Okay? Have fun!